back to another video and welcome to Sammy G's World of Cinema. Today on the channel, guys, I am going to do part 1 of my February 2026 watches. I absolutely love doing these videos to kind of look back at some of my first time watches, but some of my revisits, wherever that's on physical media or at the cinema. So gonna get right into it now, guys, and this is gonna be part 1 of my February 2026 watches. So yeah, grab yourself a cuppa, guys, and we'll get on with the show, shall we? So the first film I watched in February 2026 was a film called Happy Go Lucky from Mike Leigh, and yeah, this was actually pretty good, to be fair, with Sally Hawkins as this primary school teacher. She's got a little bit of a busy, proactive, but like outgoing sort of like personality, but she's always kind of on the move constantly. She's got a dear best friend that she's sharing a flat with as well, and yeah, really enjoyable stuff, this one. Like, kind of like, I've got to say, Eddie Marsan, whilst he plays a horrible bastard in this film as this like this driving instructor, his acting was brilliant in this film, but just really solid set of characters. One scene I liked, it was I think she was kind of like by this sort of like this construction site, and then she is chatting to this guy about life in general and stuff. And yeah, I think this is a pretty solid film, this one, and pretty good film actually from Mike Leigh. Happy Go Lucky, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10 there. Then a film, I'm going to be totally honest, guys, I don't have much to say on this one. And that is Gigantic with Zoe Deschanel and Paul Dano and John Goodman. Yeah, I thought this film was bang average, middle of the road. It was just a little bit of a nothing movie, guys. Like, I just found it was a good idea on paper, but my goodness, there was just times in this film that I was just so bored. It was moving at a snail's pace, and I did really like Paul Dano and Zoe Deschanel's chemistry on screen, but there wasn't that running throughout the film, and it was a bit of a missed opportunity there. John Goodman, I quite liked his character, but yeah, this was just a very forgettable movie, guys, and just a lot, apart from John Goodman, I've got to be honest, a lot of these characters just did nothing for me. They weren't very interesting characters to watch on screen, so yeah, and that setting with the warehouse as well didn't really do all that much. It was just a very meh movie, really. So I'm going to send the DVD of this one to Ollie, I think. Gigantic, I'm going to give a 5 out of 10, guys. Then for something, no, definitely better and far more entertaining than that, and that is Once Bitten with Jim Carrey. I had so much fun with this one, guys. I'm going to be totally honest. This is one of Jim Carrey's early roles, and yeah, like, product of its time. You can tell it's got 80s plastered on it, but there's just a charm about this one. Like, I just think Jim Carrey and the main girl in it, the main lass in there, have got interesting relationship, good chemistry. I did like the whole sort of like vampire subgenre that kind of segued itself with like a sort of an 80s like comedy there, and yeah, I just think the whole vampire reveal was interesting. Quite slow paced with the whole vampire sort of scenario that was coming into the picture here, but yeah, it did make for a good kind of mystery element to the film. I did really like Jim Carrey's two main friends in this film. They were kind of cool characters in this one, kind of had their own like sort of like this banter going on, which I thought was so much fun. And yeah, I found it a pretty entertaining time, guys. Especially the whole thing with that main like lady in there who's a vampire, but she's going undercover, but Jim Carrey is kind of like being sort of, you know, sort of drawn into all of that, but like led to believe that she's actually like a vampire. He's trying to keep this a bit of a sort of like a hidden secret from his girlfriend because he doesn't want his girlfriend finding out. And yeah, I quite liked the scenes by like the sort of the prom night, I think, or the dance night, I think it was, and that setting with that big house as well, with that like sort of like a group of vampires. Yeah, I enjoyed all those aspects, and yeah, very enjoyable ride. Quite cheesy at times, but it had a charm to it. Yeah, one spit, and I'm gonna give a 6.5 out of 10 there. Then I had a rewatch of A Room for Romeo Brass from Shane Meadows. I've got to say, guys, I think this film is massively underrated in my opinion. I just don't hear many people talk about this one, and I think it's a bit of a shame because this is a bit of a hidden gem. I think this has got such a cool sort of hangout story to this one. Maybe a film that might not get made today, quite possibly, but it's still a good film. Yeah, you've got the guy who plays Milky in This Is England. He is in this film. I think he makes his debut role there. Paddy Considine, where you've got kind of a bit of a similar resemblance there with like Richard in Dead Man's Shoes, where he is a little bit tapped and something not quite right with his character there. When you first see him and like defending, obviously, the lad who plays Milky in This Is England. And yeah, and also quite interesting to see Frank Harper turn up in this one as well, just out of the blue one day. He tries to get back into this family life when they've no matter how they try, they just want him to sort of like stop just turning up like unannounced, but he's just having none of that. And I really liked also the aspect with that lady who's working like, I think at like this tech shop or something, and yeah, the guy who played by Paddy Considine is trying all his might to impress her. So yeah, and there's some cool like hangout scenes by the beach as well. Pretty good one, that one. A Room for Romeo Brass, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 there. Then possibly one of the best first time watches of the year already, and that is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Yeah, I thought this was a great time of a Western, this was. Man, yeah, I thought this was great. Jimmy Stewart plays this guy who he's basically just looking back on his life, and basically him and how he was acquainted with this lawyer, I think played by John Wayne, and they have just such good chemistry in this film. And he's kind of the one that's helped him, you know, like get away from this guy, Liberty Valance, and he's sort of like, I don't know if henchmen, he's like sort of like group of bandits that are kind of like striving on this town. And yeah, basically Jimmy Stewart is there to give a helping hand with John Wayne there. It's like to sort of team up together to take on this group of bandits, but you can see Liberty Valance is kind of just lurking around from each different distance and each corner. I really liked the reveal towards the end of that actual outcome and how it sort of compared to itself to that whole like scene as you see towards the end. One quite really cool scene with the trial and the court as well. I really did like the main chemistry between Jimmy Stewart and Vera Miles in there as well. Yeah, like there's some good scenes like by the saloon bar. There's obviously you've got the scenes by the desert as well. And yeah, I just found this a really good watch, guys. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and yeah, just a fantastic time of a Western, this one. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10 there. Then I had a rewatch of The Sword of Doom, and wow, yeah, this is fantastic as well. I think this might have been my third viewing of this one, and I just think this is a great one to watch at that wintry time of year. Just a really cool, like, samurai film there from the get-go. This sort of like a warrior, this samurai warrior that is just showing no remorse. He is just super unhinged. He is very much like sort of like his own machine, his force of nature. I think it's Ryuzuke, I think it is. Sorry guys, I'm probably butchering that name there. I do apologise. But he's basically going all out in his way to kind of just kill anyone that's kind of just like getting in his way. And basically you see him at the start where he's right at the start of the film where he's by the mountainside and all these hills, and you see him acquainted with this grandfather and like his daughter, and then he's kind of up against a fight against this other like assassin who's basically wanted a slice of the big time in this contest, and he's made a deal with this guy's wife that they can have their own like intimacy if he lets her husband win this contest. And you see that go a little bit of a different avenue, and this film is set 2 years after that event takes place. And then Ryuzuki is going undercover under this new police force as well, and it is just a great watch, guys. Some fantastic characters in there. My goodness, that ending honestly ramps up to 11 with you know, some of the outcomes, the fast pacing of the movie where it keeps you engaged throughout. Just a really, really good movie, this one. And yeah, I just love that wintry setting and some of the cinematography with this temple or the hills and that and the snow. The action set pieces is goat here. So yeah, The Sword of Doom, I'm going to give an 8.5 out of 10 there. Right, and then I went to Tyneside Cinema to go and see 8.5. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I liked this film, don't get us wrong, but I didn't love it. I must admit, this was nowhere as great or just spellbinding as this film is made out to be. I don't think it's this glorifying, wondrous piece of cinema that it's hailed to be, folks. I just don't think it's that for me personally. But I can really appreciate and admire that it was something different. Obviously, you know, this is kind of a bit of a founding father there of that art house, sort of like art house cinema, if you like. It is a little bit of a founding father of that, and it was interesting to see the main guy in there. This sort of like this aging director, he is just wanting to kind of like this new project in the pipeline to go in the best way, shape possible, but there's always something seemed to keep holding him back, or there's just a couple of actors that want things slightly done and altered in a different light and a different fashion, but he's just having none of that, and he kind of just meets and hangs out with people around the film set. He's kind of just looking back at his own life as well, and just kind of like you know, like he's got like kind of his own like kind of this things keep happening in his like personal life going on, and it's kind of just sort of it's like head clashed with like his own like sort of like career there as well. This was good, guys. The ending was honestly, it kind of, you know, sort of ramped up that craziness and that bizarreness, that bizarre part of the film. It was ramped up to 11 there. I felt that was where it went very kind of the extra step there in terms of being, like sort of the definition of a art house film, which is something I do appreciate. But I felt, yeah, this was not bad, and it was pretty good, but honestly, guys, I don't think I will come back to this film for a long time. I did really like the opening scene, though, with that traffic and the cars. Very much kind of remind me a little bit of Falling Down there with Michael Douglas, the way the film started. But, yeah, and I kind of liked, again, there was some really good acting and dialogue in there. The main guy was a decent, again, leading character. But, yeah, I just don't think this film is going to scream rewatchability, if I'm being totally frank on that one. But yeah, 8.5, not going to be an 8.5 out of 10. I'm probably going to give it a 7. Pretty good, but yeah, not going to be a rewatchable film, that one for me, but an interesting experience, I will say that. Broken Flowers, I watched this one with Ollie. This is Jim Jarmusch film, and I've got to say, guys, Jim Jarmusch is a fantastic director. He's just made some really interesting films. I would definitely love to do a top 5 Jim Jarmusch films video for the channel. I've done a lot of YouTube shorts with that, but I think Jim Jarmusch is a director I would love to talk more about on the channel someday. But anyways, waffling on there, Broken Flowers was a good solid film with Bill Murray. I kind of liked how the character's name was also called Don Johnston. We were talking about this one on Ollie's live stream with Andy, Kenny, Jordan at Movie Worm. There was Jim as well, and Ollie, of course. And yeah, we were talking a bit briefly about this film on the live stream, and yeah, this is pretty good though. A good like kind of road trip movie. And Bill Murray's kind of plays someone who kind of thinks that coming off the back of sort of like having his sort of like previous marriage and previous relationship, which he's just come out of, he's led to believe that from way back when, and he's now actually got a long lost son. He's kind of just led to this new discovery to the point where he's now on this road trip, and you see kind of what comes out of it, and it makes for an interesting sort of like outcome there. Good kind of side cast with who is it, guys? Jeffrey Wright is in this film as well. And yeah, a pretty good cast to this one. I'm just thinking, I've got the DVD right here. Let me have a quick look, guys. Yeah, Jeffrey Wright, Tilda Swinton's in this one, Julie Delpy, Jessica Lange, Sharon Stone is in there as well. So yeah, that's that one for the cast. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good film and good side cast there. I found it very odd though. There was one scene where they were just at this dinner table and they had this really sort of disjointed sort of meal. Me and Ollie were just agreeing, saying, what's going on here with this like meal and that. But yeah, it was a fun watch along. I did really like the characters that Bill Murray, Don Johnston, his character's called, met along the way. And yeah, I kind of liked the ending. It kind of had a decent message behind it. So Broken Flowers, I'm going to give a 7.5 out of 10 there. And did really like the jazz score with that one as well. Just recently bought the Blu-ray of this one, so I thought, why the hell not? I'm going to have a rewatch of this one, as it has been a few years since I've last seen it. I rewatched About a Boy with Nicholas Hoult and Hugh Grant. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, guys, I don't think this film has aged particularly well, in my opinion. I think you can tell this is something that would have come out of the 2000s, which, don't get us wrong, I think that is a great time for films, but I just think this film, it's kind of not aged the best, in my opinion, but I think it is a decent watch. Hugh Grant is as cool gets in this film. You know, just starring in a lot of these like rom-coms and these comedies around this time. He's just such a cool guy in this. There's kind of just living the dream. He's living a very relaxed, chilled out sort of life. But then out of the blue one day, he kind of meets a single mother. And then that kind of is segued itself into meeting Toni Collette, her son, Marcus, played by Nicholas Hoult there. And then, yeah, basically, Hugh Grant's character is kind of, I think he's called Will, who was basically not being kind of telling them the whole truth about what's been going on, like, sort of previously. So Marcus, has made an agreement. He can keep this as a secret. He'll keep this as a secret, but he has to stick to this agreement, and yeah, basically just allow him somewhere to go when he's basically getting bullied and stuff. And yeah, this is a decent comedy, this one, guys. I've got to say, there is a couple of cringe moments in there, some couple laughable moments, but yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it's on the level of something like Love Actually or Notting Hill, Four Weddings and a Funeral, in that matter. I just think they're they're better movies. Well, Love Actually is a lot better than this, but it's still a decent watch. Do like the soundtrack, actually, from Badly Drawn Boy. So yeah, the film about a boy, I'm going to give a 6.5 out of 10 there. Then I had a double bill at the Market Pavilion, and the first one is, again, this has been a bit of a hot topic for a lot of people recently, and that is the film Send Help from Sam Raimi. I believe my very good friend Jordan at Movie Worm has just done a ranking of all of Sam Raimi's films, so yeah, I'll be interested to check that one out, Jordan, because that would be something I'd be interested in checking out there. But yeah, Send Help, this was good, guys. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. I must admit, a bit like 8.5. I don't think this is this fantastic, really great film as it's been hailed to be, but I can see why at the same time. But I did think it was pretty good. Some good tension on this island. Rachel McAdams, who you really feel for her character at the start, where she's just having the most shite day possible. And Dylan O'Brien that comes into the picture as this new head boss doesn't help things there, and it kind of goes against her way constantly. But then when they go on the plane, I think to this meeting, and they head onto this island, and it's Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams on their own 2 feet there individually, and they kind of have to team together to find a way of this island. But at the same time as that, Rachel McAdams wants to seek a slice of revenge there for how she was mistreated previously. And yeah, I found this a pretty enjoyable watch. Some quite squirmish, stomach-churning moments that you don't see come from a mile off. A couple of twists and turns that really kind of spiced up the tension there, which I think is what's really accomplished in a Sam Raimi movie all the merry way there. And yeah, I really liked how it was just the main 2 leads for the most part throughout its duration, and like kind of the amount of tension and kind of like the writing side of it, like there's kind of so much that is done between the main pairing here, and it's very interesting. The ending wasn't kind of the ending I had in mind, but I'm hoping on that second viewing I will get something more out of that ending. But until the last 10 minutes, I found this film to be very entertaining, something kind of different for like a sort of an isolated sort of like island based movie. And yeah, I thought this was pretty enjoyable. Again, a couple like real gory scenes that I didn't expect, but yeah, pretty good film, that one. Send Help, I'm gonna give a 7 out of 10 there. And the next film, and this is part of the Blythe Festival of Film program that is happening at the minute, and I've got to say, classical opera music isn't my forte. It's not my frequent genre of music, and I think it's to why I have been put off by watching this film all my life. So because I'm kind of wanting to watch as many music-related films as I possibly can, regardless of if it's based off a genre of music or a certain artist that I don't listen to on a frequent basis, I was going to give this a watch. And I'm glad I did, because you know what, guys? I think this has got to go down as one of the best first-time watches of the year. Amadeus. Wow. Wow. Oh, this film was fantastic. I loved this. This was brilliant. Really good stuff. Again, guys, I just wished I saw this film sooner, because I was just put off by this film for like it being based on Mozart, and just mainly because it's not mainly because of Mozart, but mainly because I'm not a fan of classical opera music. But my goodness, guys, I absolutely loved this. This was fascinating. This was so great. I just loved that, again, that we followed that kind of about Mozart's life, his love for classical music and opera. I loved his chemistry with like his father in there, as well as trying to be there and like whenever he can, and just helping with like his new like works and stuff when he's composing, and when he's kind of putting on this like this production, this theatre performance, and he's helping conducting that, and it's just wonderful. F. Murray Abraham possibly stole the show for me as this other main composer, this main guy who's kind of, again, near and dear friends to Mozart in this film, and I just absolutely loved it. The pacing was brilliant. There were times where the film didn't really have room to breathe because there was that much going on, and even the classical side of it, you know, with the music and that, I was hooked. I was really having a fantastic time with the music side of it as well. And yeah, just F. Murray Abraham, and who rightly so won the Oscar for his performance in this, because he was probably just the best part of the film. But the main guy who played Mozart and this gave a superb leading performance. And yeah, just the costume, the period side of this film, the setting, the wintry vibrancy that was captured down to a T here. God, I loved this. I fucking loved this film. Amadeus was a fantastic movie, and definitely one I'm gonna not just pick up on Blu-ray, but I'm going to go right ahead and get this on 4K. I had such a great time with this one at the Market Pavilion in Blythe, and it could go up and up in that estimate on subsequent viewings, but I absolutely will be hands down adding this to my Blu-ray 4K collection now. Amadeus, I'm going to give a 9 out of 10 there. I did really like this film, but not going to be a rewatchable film for me personally, and that is Leviathan. So good, really good film, super well acted, a very good Russian film, and just looking at this family, the threat that they could lose their family home that they've kind of, you know, sort of been, you know, sort of cherished all these years, and something, it just seems to keep banging the drum constantly, and it is just this rivalry and this sort of this back and forth sort of rivalry between the main father and this main sort of Mayor of Foot, and yeah, it is just delivered with such fantastic acting, but there are some twists and turns in this one, and that ending, you're kind of very sort of frustrated with how that outcome turned out, and it goes there with kind of how bleak and subtle this film can get, but very good film, and definitely one that I'll definitely will revisit at some point in the future. I thought the main mother was great in this film. She was probably my favourite character in the film here. Leviathan, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10 there. Then I went to the Cineworld in Newcastle, and again I have done a full review of this, guy, so I won't talk about this one too long, but wow, this might just be my best viewing of this film yet, and that is The Graduate. What a great movie this is, guys, just wonderful. A film that's going to be turning 60 next year, and it just still holds up still in 2026. And yeah, I just absolutely love the character work in this film. You know, Benjamin Braddock, who is kind of, he doesn't really know what to do with his life at first, and then you're kind of still wondering about that and where he's gonna go, but I think it's a really interesting decision when Mrs. Robinson comes into the picture, because if Mrs. Robinson didn't come into the picture, we could have had a different movie entirely for all we know. But yeah, this is wonderful. Again, Anne Bancroft and Dustin Hoffman, front, left, right, and centre, steal the show. Again, the soundtrack from Simon and Garfunkel is absolutely goat. It's elite. And again, beautiful music, just a beautiful movie, wonderful romantic drama based off a great novel by Charles Webb there, and also Catherine Ross does an amazing job as Elaine Robinson in this film as well, and a very optimistic sort of ending there to sign off what is a fantastic film all round. The Graduate, I'm going to give a 9 out of 10, and I will leave a link to my review in the description box down below there. Then I had a rewatch of the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Yeah, guys, I was just thinking, do you know what? I was having such a good day, and I had such a good day. I just thought, yeah, to myself, do you know what? I fancy chucking on a really good film on, and I decided to rewatch this, and yeah, childhood staple of mine. I haven't seen it for about a few years now, and I just thought, I've seen it countless times, and yeah, this is one of Sam Raimi's best. I think it is just a great definition of how you do a comic book screen presentation, introduction to a superhero. Tobey Maguire, who I've got to say I am a lot more fond of as an actor than I used to be. I think just with the more films I've seen with him in, and yeah, he is just the Peter Parker that I I knew growing up. And yeah, definitely my favourite Peter Parker and my favourite Spider-Man. Willem Dafoe, absolutely badass as the Green Goblin, but so unhinged as Norman Osborn. I've got to say the lovey-dovey chemistry between Peter and MJ has somewhat shown its age now. It's a little bit dated there, but the camera shots and the high angle camera shots and the way the camera moves here and there, I think is just off the wall. It is a joy to watch. And that whole setup with Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, I just think is absolutely awesome. The special effects is really cool to this one as well. It doesn't go over bloated with any of like kind of the visual, the CGI aspect, because this one just does it just right as well. So yeah, the original Spider-Man, and I'm really now ecstatic to go back and rewatch Spider-Man 2, which is, for me, in my opinion, one of the greatest sequels of all time. And whilst we're on the subject of Sam Raimi, Evil Dead 2, I would very much put that in that same bracket there as well. So Spider-Man, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10 there. Then I went back to the Market Pavilion. I went to go and see the latest film from Bradley Cooper, and a film interestingly loosely based on John Bishop's life. Apologies about that. And yeah, a film that I was quite interested in, and that is the film Is This Thing On? And yeah, I've got to say, guys, I was so surprised how much I enjoyed this. And I think this one has received a pretty positive reception so far. And Fox Searchlight, who just delivers some really cool movies, and yeah, I really enjoyed this one. The main guy in it, I think he's called Alex, I think it is. He basically is, marriage is on the rocks, on a little bit of a decline there. And he's trying to sort of like climb up the ladder and sort of like get back on his feet and bounce back. And then one day out the blue, he goes to this like Comedy Central like bar, and then he basically out of the blue, he just he has this microphone in his hand. What is he gonna do about it? Tell his life story and put it into and deliver it with comedic elements that stick to the landing in regards to the audience being super entertained by what he has to say, like on the stage and with a mic in his hand, and it just pays off. And yeah, and then that is basically just because of that very night out of the blue when he had nothing like much to do, he then goes into sort of like he kind of sort of goes into the business of stand-up comedy, and then that is kind of a bit of a turning point for him. He meets this lady who he starts to have a bond with, starts to have a bit of a friendship with, but then you find they're a little bit more intimate along the way, and then him and Laura Dern, whilst they kind of clash heads, they're not quite getting on. You see that goes into a little bit of a different direction as the film goes on. You see there's a bit of a family-driven part of the film that's quite interesting to watch on screen. Bradley Cooper, I think, plays his best friend in this and is a good like supporting role to this. And yeah, just a really interesting film, this one. And I've got to say, the main guy in it, I really liked his voice. Actually, his voice was really cool in this film. And yeah, I also just enjoyed that it was just focusing on both the family side of the film, but kind of like focusing on the main guy, Alex, and his sort of like stand-up comedy career. And yeah, and because of that, and the decision he made to go into stand-up comedy, you meet some cool characters along the way. It's a good hangout movie. So the film is this thing on, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10 there. Then, guys, I went on a little bit of a mini rom-com romantic film binge there, because obviously this weekend is Valentine's Day, so I just thought I fancied going, like revisiting a couple of these romantic films here, and there's actually one or two more I am planning on to revisit as well. The first one of those being is When Harry Met Sally, a rewatch of this after 5 years or something. A wonderful sort of like film from Rob Reiner, who is sorely missed and has delivered some really, really great movies, and this being one of them. And yeah, I just think this is such a fascinating take on this romantic subgenre. Obviously, great chemistry dynamic between Harry and Sally, played brilliantly by Billy Crystal, and Meg Ryan, who again was like kind of a great kind of superstar in a lot of these like romantic comedies, but she's a great actress as well as that. And I just, yeah, love their chemistry, love how they kind of like sort of revisiting and like memory lane, they're kind of looking back on good old times in this film. And yeah, I think there's some great messages in this film. I love the scenes as well where they just be at this diner, or having this car journey as well. They would meet after 5 years at this airport. The New Year's setting, the Christmas setting that plays a great part into this. Also, the classic line, I'll have what she's having, that's been referenced many times since this. And yeah, really good stuff. And I do like the whole like interviews as well, with the like couple after couple that's kind of focusing on like when they first ever met. I think that's got a nice touch to this story here. And yeah, beautiful movie. Love the like the ending and its conclusion. When Harry Met Sally, I'm gonna give an 8 out of 10 there. Then I had a rewatch of, believe it or not, a film that I only watched for the first time last year, but I've got to say, guys, on this rewatch, I probably preferred it that extra bit more. I don't know, on this rewatch, it just works for me as it did on first viewing. I think just because I knew what I was getting myself into with this on this second viewing, I just really enjoyed and admired it that extra bit more. And there's something about Mary. Yeah, this is just such a charmful, sort of sweetheart, sort of lovable comedy from a staple of the 90s that just works, in my opinion. And yeah, again, I just love how it does something similar with When Harry Met Sally, where our two main leads here are kind of like distant for a number of years, but then you find later down the road in this movie they are reunited after and they kind of like just pick up where they left off, sort of thing. And yeah, I just really like that. Obviously that film goes down that avenue that this film is set like, I think, about 13 years after when they first met. And yeah, it's good, good chemistry between Ted and Mary. Some really funny, daft moments in there. Obviously, guys, we can't forget that iconic scene with, obviously, the prom night at the start. Pat Healy is probably, though, my favourite character in this film. He's a bit of a sly fox in this film. He is honestly just a bit kind of, he's very kind of a bit cheesy, a bit corny, but, he's got a real cool, slick, thing going on with his character there. And and then he's basically finds out about Mary, and he's kind of wanting to sort of be acquainted. It kind of falls flat at first, but then you find when he kind of tells her a little bit info about him, it kind of pays off then. And it's then just that you're waiting for that moment for Ted and Mary to be reunited after a number of years. Cameron Diaz and Ben Stiller, I probably should have mentioned earlier there, but and obviously, oh my god, guys, my favourite part of this film has to be when Pat Healy is acquainted with that dog. Oh my god, I was honestly just belly laughing when I first watched that scene, and it still does not disappoint on rewatch there. And just a really optimistic, feel-good ending. I like the music duo that comes in and out of the film as well. We don't really get much of that in films nowadays, where you get like this sort of like this duo, these music duo that comes in and out at certain scenes in the film. I feel like that doesn't happen all too much often in the film nowadays, but really enjoyable that one, and had such a good time with this one on rewatch, and one I'll keep coming back to in the future. There's Something About Mary, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10 there. So I went to the Market Pavilion to go and see Sideways, part of the festival film of Blythe, and this was a first time watch. I know Roy really likes this film. Sorry guys, let me just move this camera a little bit. There we go. So I know Roy is a big fan of this film, and I can see why. I thought this was great, really good stuff, this one. Just a cool hangout movie. I just really enjoyed hanging out with these characters on screen, wherever that was. Paul Giamatti, Thomas Hayden Church, Sandra Oh and Virginia Madsen. They just had such great chemistry in this one. Thomas Hayden Church, man, he was probably my favourite character in this film, where he's constantly just banging the drum and just nagging Paul Giamatti's character on and saying, like, look, you've got to, get back on the dating scene, get with this lady and stuff, and this guy is just having none of that. When Thomas Hayden Church is just trying to help him out, and then Thomas Hayden Church is his character's about to get married, and yet he finds, Sandra Oh's character. So Sandra, oh my god, right, they start to get intimate, and no matter how many times Paul Giamatti's character tells Thomas Hayden, will you stop doing that, he just couldn't care less. He just does his own thing anyway. And he just couldn't give a shite, like, if his fiance finds out, and oh my god, he is just such a cool character in this film. But I really liked the road trip around California in this one, and the whole wine tasting, going bar by bar. Really kind of liked the ending as well, kind of left open to your imagination there. Loved the pairing between Paul Giamatti and Virginia Madsen as well. So this was really good. Sideways, I'm going to give an 8.5 out of 10. And my goodness, guys, I've got to say, Alexander Payne, I want to see more films from this guy, because he's done this, The Descendants, The Holdovers, and Nebraska. I have absolutely loved all of those films. He also directed the film Downsizing, which I know that film gets a little bit of a bad rap, but I quite like that film, you know, so he is a fantastic director. But yes, Sideways, great film. In spite of it being Friday the 13th, I decided to get back into the film series and watch Part 7 for the first time. And do you know what, guys? I quite liked this one. I know this one gets a little bit of a bad rap. I know they're not going to be winning any awards. They're not there to be Oscar-worthy movies or anything of that. It's self-aware thing. It knows what it is. It knows what it's doing. And Part 7 is a bit goofy at times, I will admit that. But you know what, guys? It's got its fun moments attached to it as well. There are some quite brutal kills from Jason in this one. One by, I think, the lakeside, the tent. There's one by the back of the car as well. There was actually one quite horrific scene, like by the shed. I do remember that as well. But yeah, I do really like the setting with that big house as well, and that circle of friends. I thought Tina really interesting. The film went in a bit of a different avenue there, with having like the main character having like mythical psychic powers. I kind of liked that aspect as well, and it kind of like spiced up some like tension there. Really enjoyed that from a writing perspective, but also I did like kind of how we had the stepfather who's a psychiatrist, and the mother as well, that's kind of known about, you know, like kind of Tina's gift, but also the backstory with like her father as well. It's kind of one of these films, guys, I have to kind of suspend all belief and just take it for what it is. It's really cool to see that Jason was kind of like underwater in this one. They kind of went for a little bit of a Jaws-esque thing going on there. But yeah, had a pretty entertaining time with Part 7. Not gonna be winning any awards, this one, but yeah, and obviously there is some atrocious acting in this one, but all the charm to this film as well. And yeah, quite an immense final act to this one as well. But I'm really looking forward to checking out Part 8, because obviously that's where Jason goes to Manhattan. Very interested to see how that pans out. So yeah, Part 7 of Friday the 13th, I'm gonna literally give a 7 out of 10. I know this one gets its detractors, but I personally had a fun time with this one. Part 5 gets its detractors as well, and I enjoyed Part 5. So far, guys, this film series has been fucking awesome. I've loved it. I've really had a good time with this film series so far, and I can imagine Part 8, I'm gonna get something out of that movie as well. So guys, that's been Part 1 of my February 2026 watches, and I will bring out Part 2 of this in early March. Do let me know, guys, have you seen any of these movies? What's your thoughts on them? And are you planning on checking any of these movies out? I would love to know all of that good stuff in the comments down below there. And I will be back for episode 18 of the Unwatched Shelves series will be my next video after this. So hope everyone is doing wonderfully well. I'll be back for more content soon there. So thanks for watching. Cheers for stopping by. And until next time, I'll see you for the next video. Bye bye. Take care, guys. Thank you so much as always, folks.